Hello and welcome to the Road to 2000. I'm Sara Herman and I will be teaching this class for about the next month. And by the way, I found this interesting. The person who's going to be taking over this class after me is someone that I hung my queen to in Vegas last year. So that'll be really interesting. That was my only interaction with this new hire. So today we're going to be talking about attacking chess. Both in this lecture and the next lecture, Ilya will also be talking about attacking chess and the pros and cons. The only audience member tonight is Ilya Nizhnik, which is, you know, I feel like he shouldn't be in the Road to 2000, but all that means is more content for the fans on Twitch. Okay, so this first game I played in, I think it was 2022 when I was just coming back into chess after about a 2-year break during the thing that happened. And I was playing someone a lot higher rated than me. I'm pretty sure this person is a disgraced NM, meaning that they have the NM title but are not 2200. But okay, e4, c6, knight c3, d5, knight f3. I'm keeping it simple. This is back when I played e4 because I liked to attack. Knight f6, queen e2, and of course, a little trick, I'm sure most of you know this, but do not play knight d7 here, defending your knight. It seems like a logical move, but the problem with this is that it hangs checkmate in 1. And I've won many bullet games like this, which is the only reason I play this way. It all comes back to bullet. Okay, e6, d4, I don't know, just controlling the center. Bishop e7, bishop f4. And castle. It's pretty rare in a position that seems so simple that castles is marked as a dubious or inaccurate move. There are a lot of things in this position that point towards an attack happening. I think that, the chat can try and name some of them. If not, I'll name as many as I can. What are some reasons white's going to attack here? And YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook are competing against each other for points today. The winner gets a high five at the end.
Virtual high five?
Virtual high five. No one is saying anything. All right, that's fine. Okay, fast h4. This is true. Pawns kingside, but why? You can always play h4 when they castle. You can always do that. I don't know, but can I get a virtual high five? No, you have to participate. At least give me a answer. It doesn't have to be correct. Just say, something. Okay, so from my perspective, all of black's pieces, nearly all of them, are undeveloped and on the queen side. And it's going to be hard to get more pieces over to the defense. And meanwhile, white is set to castle queen side. Center is unresolved. Is that true? I don't see what's going to happen in the center, and neither break will happen. White's castling queenside and is gonna go. Black committed the king too fast. Yeah, it's a bit weird. I think probably what the computer wanted was either knight b to d7 or knight d5, because as you can see, after he castled, I played knight takes f6, which was the best move, and the reason is, I don't know if any of you heard this term before, but as a small child, they had to explain things to me in very simple terms, and they explained that the knight on f6 is a hero knight, because it guards the weakest square in the castle, which is h7. So if you remove the hero knight, and then you attack this square twice, it's checkmate. And that's all I really know about chess. So I took on f6, bishop takes f6. This piece is not as good of a defender. And then we castle queenside. b6 is a really odd move, in my opinion. Someone in the chat says g4, 10 points for you. I mean, I think h4 is actually a better move here, but I decided to send the g-pawn. They both look fine to me. g6. I mean, to me, this just looks like it's creating a hook, because I was going to send the pawns down the board anyway, and now h4, h5 looks more enticing because I can open the h-file, perhaps. So g6 is probably not that great, but I think he was afraid of some g5 kicking the bishop, and he wanted to put it on a normal-looking square. That's what I would assume. But h4 is automatic. What's a hook? How do I explain a hook? Do I make a metaphor? Already one. So think of it this way. I'm not going to explain it in the terms of the word hook because I can't think of anything. But when you move a pawn, anytime you move a pawn, you create weaknesses behind it. Every time a pawn is moved, the squares beside it are weakened. And you don't want to be pushing pawns in front of your king because it weakens the squares all around it. And g6 is a hook because I can attack it and either force you to take and open the g-file, or let me take and open the h-file, and open files towards the king are the best ways to checkmate the opponent, probably. Captain Hook. That's true. Captain Hook is a bad guy, so don't make them. All right, my opponent went queen d5. This move doesn't make the most sense. It's a one-move threat on a2. And I think that it just sets up maybe issues on this diagonal. b6 and queen d5 beg for bishop g2. Probably. White should play c4 here. I don't really think it's that necessary to play a move like this. I just played king b1 because I had to finish castling anyway. Hook asking you to attack the pieces that was moved. Sure. Right hook. Yeah, it's a boxing term. Okay. Rook d8. Bishop g2. Bishop a6. Where do we put the queen? Does it matter? I put the queen on e3. I like the dark squares. I think that if this was my idea, I played this game 2 years ago, and I have the memory of a goldfish. But if my idea was to support a bishop e5 idea at some point and be able to trade the dark squared bishop off to make the dark squares weaker, and then put a queen on that square, and then open the h-file, then I'm a genius. I probably just made a move, though. Then my opponent played bishop b7. These moves don't make so much sense. He played bishop a6, forced my queen to maybe a better square, and then went bishop b7, setting up tactics in the future. h5, c5. This is not working. I guess white to play here. It's not too terribly difficult. But what's a almost winning combination? I guess actually it is technically just a completely winning combination, but it's long. Knight h4. Everybody likes knight h4. Okay, you have, the idea is clear. You want to unleash the bishop on the light squares. He'll have to play queen d7. That's his next move. Then what is your follow-up? Robert White says h takes g6. I very much agree with that. If you can open the H file, why wouldn't you do that first? I took on G6, H takes G6. And the reason knight H4 isn't as good here, in my opinion, is because it closes down the H file and it just sort of gets in the way. Unless you're trying to sack on G6, which is probably unnecessary. I played knight E1 to defend the bishop this way. And after queen D7, what is the winning move in this position? Queen H3. Queen H3 looks good. But you have to account for the fact that he might be able to run and hide over here. Or even hide on F8. What is the only defender on the black king? There's only one. Rook next to pawn. What does that mean? I did give a hint at one point, but yeah, bishop e5, which was the point of like playing queen e3 instead of queen d2. So there are checkmating patterns coming out now of rook h8 with some sort of diagonal support on e5. He doesn't have anything to do. If he takes on g2, for example, well, I guess, yeah, for some reason I thought I could just take on f6 and then recapture it, but that's not how chess works. Knights can jump over pieces, but pieces cannot jump over knights. But I don't know, you recapture and then the threat is the same. So my opponent played bishop g7, and I took and I played queen e5, reinforcing that threat. And queen h3, I suppose, is also interesting here, but I did this for a very specific point. So if I play queen h3 right away, he can play king f6, and then I have to think, which I didn't really want to do. So I played queen e5 to force f6. If he does anything else, he lets me in. After f6, then I go queen h2, and now he blocked off his escape square, and now this is looking quite bad. Queen h6 would sort of be the same thing as queen h3 there. This move makes no sense, but also he was losing, so that's okay. And then he resigned here, because he's going to give me his queen, I think. Yeah, well, the problem is even if he runs this way, it's more attack. There's no safe place for the king. So that one was pretty typical attack when it comes to, I don't know, the g6 hook. There is a scale that I've heard of when it comes to which pieces are the best attacking pieces. If we had to rank all the pieces in order of how good of an attacker they are, what would we guess they would be? I arrived just in time to learn that the horsey can jump over piece, but piece cannot jump over horsey. I'll be 2,000 by the end of tomorrow at this rate. Well, I mean, it's a confusing rule. The knights hop. I don't know. No other piece does that. Now you know. What's the conclusion about attacking chess after this game? That's a good question. What is the conclusion? You gotta open the lines, and you gotta remove the defender, and then put something to attack the newly weakened squares. Surely. All right, knight, pawn, bishop, rook, queen. Interesting. Queen, horse. It just stopped after that. That's fair. I think that's correct. I believe it goes queen, knight, pawn, bishop, and then rook is last. Is that right? Who knows? I think it's interesting that rook is so far behind. It's also kind of the worst defender. This game I played in an IHOP 2022. I got a giggle from that one. You know, when you don't live in St. Louis, you play chess where you can, which is at the IHOP. So e4, c5. These Sicilians can usually turn into pretty crazy games. Oh, this is an interesting thing. I was expecting a Najdorf here, right? a6 or something, or maybe g6, something normal. My opponent played knight d7. And I had never seen this move before, and that's because it's not that great of a move. And there's actually a way for white to immediately take advantage of this knight move. Yeah, I played in the seniors. That's why I got this shirt. Yeah, g4 can be played because there's no bishop. Oh no. And then you can just play g5 and then attack. Which I didn't know this idea. I probably could have figured that out. I think my brother told me that the reason he would find the right move there is because there is a similar line against e6. You can play g4 here. Idea is the same. The bishop is blocked, so g4 can be played without being captured, and then it's kind of dangerous for black to be castling over here now. It's like the Keras attack, only better. Yeah, which I wasn't aware of at the time. So I am now, but I was not. I just played bishop e3, which is a normal move, and I liked that I could play bishop e3 without playing f3 first, because knight g4 now hangs a piece. So at least I was thinking about it in some way. g6, f3 now, for whatever reason. Bishop g7, queen d2, castles, and h4. People don't really play the dragon anymore, I've noticed. I think that the reason people don't play the dragon is just because of the Marozzi bind. But it used to be what I would face the most, and I also played it with black. So I got so much practice playing opposite side castling positions. I think it is worth doing for a while, just practicing that sort of thing, because it helps you so much with understanding timing. Because you can't always be defending, you can't always be attacking. It's the sort of thing where you have to know, all right, I'll play a defensive move now, I'll attack now. And these things are just not natural at all, unless you have practice. So the general idea is still going to be the same. Bishop h6, open the h file, and go. My opponent played rook e8, which the computer says is a question mark. Why would this move be so bad? There's a funny line in the Najdorf after bishop g5, knight d7, bishop e3. Back. That makes sense, actually, I guess. Because it's not like you're going to take on f6. Allows h5. Yeah, I think that Fisher Random Chess says it well. Well, yeah, passive. It's, I would say aimless, maybe? I'm just not really sure what the move's doing. Maybe I just don't understand it. I just simply castled queenside because it's a move I have to make anyway. a6, another kind of aimless move. It's not really... You can't just defend these positions. A lot of the defense comes from active defense and creating counterplay and storming on the queen side where my king is, but a6 is not... It's not really helping with that. b5, b4 seems pretty slow to me. I don't know what the computer would do there, though. The computer thinks this is already bad, which makes sense. Rook e8 is that bad. Black should play d5 here. And just be down a pawn. I guess knight f6, and I can't defend this without c4. At least black is getting the pieces out in this scenario. But anyway, I'm going to turn the computer off. a6, g4, b5, h5, knight e5. All right, we'll make this a position to ask questions in. Is now the time to open the H file, or is there anything else we can do to improve the position? A3, I would say, does not improve the position, and in fact creates a hook for black and makes b5 even stronger. When b5 is played and a3 is not on the board, I can just move my knight away and not worry so much. But if I were to play a3, okay, and say b5 is already prepared, so we're assuming, I mean, honestly, takes, no, I don't think it can work. But if this move had been prepared, which he can spend time to prepare it, it'll be a scenario when he finally plays it that when I move my knight away, he can open the b file and get my king. So we don't want to push pawns in front of the king. Yeah, you could play bishop h6. I didn't really see how to keep improving. All my pieces are pretty well placed, I think. So I just took on g6 and played bishop h6. And my opponent played bishop h8, which looks depressing, but it might be all he can do at this point. And now what? Someone says g5 already. Knight sack on... Ooh, knight sack on f5 is probably at least playable. I don't think he can take it. Because opening the g file is... Especially if my bishop had been developed over here, man, that would be bad. I played the move g5, and after knight h5, I played f4, and I'm really kicking the knights around now. Knight f7, f5, and I'm trying to undermine this knight on h5 and continue to open the position. So it's difficult for black to find a move here. I don't even know what I would play in this position. Black played knight g3, which is not so good because it voluntarily gives up control, or not control, but it gives white the h file. Rook sack. Someone wants a rook sack? You want to take on h5. That's probably good-ish. Well, I don't know, because maybe I can put my bishop on g4. I don't know. It all looks pretty good. This king is so bad. Yeah, even this is good for white. I just went rook g1, preparing for the eventual g6 break. And, oh, okay, so here my opponent first hovered his hand over the b pawn. He was going to play b4, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. I think I can... Minimum, it just pushes a knight further into the attack. And I eventually settled down with bishop e5. So bishop e5 is a mistake tactically. It's white to play and win here. I wish I had played rook takes h5. I mean, it wasn't as good, but it's more fun. Knight c6 fork. Yeah. My opponent missed knight c6, and after the queen moves, I'll take on e5 and then take on g3, and the knight f1 is what he tried, but it's not quite good enough. I mean, I can't... This isn't great for me, but I can just take the knight and then take on e5. And he doesn't have a great thing. So if he takes with the knight, I have queen d5. This looks pretty winning to me. I'm kind of wondering if after king h8 I can just take on g6 and put a rook here and not bother taking this rook. But he takes with the pawn, but then my knight can come to d5. And here my opponent played the move g takes f5. To be fair, again, he had nothing he can do. He can't even develop his light-squared bishop, because if he moves the bishop away from the queen, there's knight f6 check winning the queen because of this discovered attack. So my opponent is struggling here. Okay, another white to play move. It is made an 8, but I won't make you play. I don't know. I don't think I even did it. I checkmated in 5 moves from here because I'm better than the computer. Yeah. So g6 takes, rook takes, king h8, someone likes knight f6 check. To be honest, knight f6 check probably also works. Because I can't recapture. Well, I can recapture. Here, and then here, here, and then here. This has got to be checkmate, right? It's +5. Somehow f4 saves it from being mate. It's all good. I played g6. Takes, rook takes g6, king h8. What now? How to continue? Do we have any pieces that are not involved in the attack that can be brought in? Queen h2? Queen h2 looks good. Because we're basically putting him in checkmate. All we have to do is just move the bishop out of the way now. I did something similar. I played rook h1 because, I don't know, it's more fun to checkmate with a lower value piece. King h7. And then I played queen g2. I suppose this was my point, but I think I could have played queen h2 and rook g1 as well. And so we're still reinforcing this threat of bishop f8 checkmate. Rook h8, bishop f8, knight h6, and rook takes h6 checkmate. So it kind of when it fell apart quickly. This is the nature of attacks. I have 3 more games, but I have to look at 30 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna do it. And the quality of these games, by the way, is interesting to me. Like, my rating is very different for all of these games, but the games where I'm higher rated are worse, I think. I don't know what that's about. Okay, so this third game I think was, I don't know, the Denver Open of 2022, let's say. I was playing a child. I was the black pieces. I don't know why the board's like this. So you know it's bad when you win an attacking game with black. That's hard to do. So this is back when I played the Najdorf, and I used to think. I won't bore you with the theory. In my notes, I said I knew theory up until here, which is crazy. And then this was my first think. Do you have a thought?
You were playing black?
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. You don't like bishop e7?
Yeah, because in some positions you decide to play g6, bishop g7. When white plays knight e5, sometimes when I keep yourself flexible, there's possibilities.
So
it's a different line. Bishop e7 is what most people do.
Okay. I'm getting some input from the Road to 2000 audience, in-person audience. Nijnik says he doesn't like putting on the bishop on e7 here. He prefers g6, bishop g7. But this is allegedly more common. Okay. It's a tough crowd. It's a tough crowd out here, let me tell you. My opponent castled queenside, and so we have another opposite sides castling scenario where it's just going to be a race. The way my first chess coach explained it to me is whoever wins is whoever gets there the firstest with the mostest, meaning get there fast with a lot of stuff. Pretty simple stuff. So I don't know. I just played knight d7. I developed. I think I'm probably delaying castling unless it's absolutely necessary, or at least delaying it until I know how safe it's going to be. Because my opponent, if I castle, he kind of already has a hook to it. Like, he could play g4, potentially. So knight d7, king b1 finishes castling. Rook c8 is kind of an automatic type move. This is kind of the only open, semi-open file, rather. h4, this seems normal. Yeah. I think that I probably had the idea of playing h4 myself and gaining some more space, possibly. But I'm really not sure here. I played the move b5, just trying to allow more, not pawn breaks, but I want to clear the way for rooks in the attack. Bishop g5, queen c7, a3. I mean, a3, I don't know, maybe it's not bad, but it is following the theme of possibly creating a hook. All right, we have another person who just joined who is higher rated than me. Really? I lost like 100 rating points.
Yeah, but I'm.
Oh, okay.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the average rating of the audience is like, I don't know, 2,500, something like that. That's not true, but okay. That's how it feels. What are sorry, the chat. Okay. b4 would be something nice to get in. I think something else I wanted was putting a knight on either c4 or a4, so I played knight b6. It's also supporting d5 and preventing things from happening here. And he plays the move bishop takes f6. Do we recapture with the bishop and hang a pawn? Or do we recapture with the pawn and say we're never going to castle? Because castling is...
So never castle.
Never castle. I agree. I guess it's kind of obvious because the d pawn, but g takes f6, knight d5. My bishop on e7 is quite bad, but it's doing a job at least. I don't want to leave this knight here. It would be kind of way too good of a piece, so I take on d5, e takes d5, and I played the move bishop d7. Is that surprising to anyone? Does anyone have thoughts on that?
I think I would have took with the bishop after that.
You would have taken with the bishop. I mean, this seems like it could also be good, but... And everyone in the chat agrees with you. But I disagree with everyone in the chat, so... You give him the c... That's a great point. You give him the c6 square, and voluntarily give up your good bishop. Typically, your bad bishop is going to be the one that's on the same color as all of your pawns, because it kind of is a pawn itself. And then all of my weaknesses, because all my pawns are on dark squares, are on light squares. So I kind of want a light squared bishop to balance that out. So I assume that's why I took with the knight. Or I could have simply said, I like bishops. Bishop f5, would anyone play bishop f5 here?
That was the intuitive move I would play, but I think your move's better. Bishop d3 comes and I kind of have to move bishop again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. my first instinct, of course, is to go forwards and play bishop f5. But if bishop f5, there's bishop d3, and I either again have to give up my light squared bishop and then give him the c6 square and be left with this garbage piece, or go backwards. And what was the point? So I just played bishop e7, or d7, excuse me. My opponent played bishop e2. What is the point of bishop e2? Besides developing a piece, because that's also true. g4, correct. Yeah, it connects the rooks, it prepares g4 in another way. So I just go f5. f5 is a multi-purpose move here. Preventing g4, but also I want to fix my bishop on e7, play bishop f6, point it towards the king. And my opponent played kind of probably a silly move here. f4. This one I don't really understand why he would do. Because it makes my idea even better, because it allows me to play e4 first, and then the bishop comes to f6, and it's just unopposed on the long diagonal, pointing towards the king. And I have a passed pawn now that's supported. I didn't really have to weaken anything to have it either. So this is maybe kind of a little kid move, just pushing a pawn but not understanding the I don't know. That's just, I had a friend, and her mom always called this push pawnitis, because little kids seem to always just be pushing pawns without really thinking, especially in the endgame. All right, e4, rook c1, bishop f6, queen d1. Now I understand the point of c4. I don't think I saw this in the game, that this was his point, until he actually played the move queen d1. I didn't see it coming. It's such an interesting little maneuver. He did identify a weakness. This pawn is hard to defend, but to play c4 in order to play rook c1 and queen d1 to attack this pawn is a bit odd to me. Oh yes, f4, sure. So sorry. That is true. In front of your king. That's true. c4 is actually a better idea than f4. So yeah, I mean, valuing material over giving black all of these positional advantages, not so good. I played the move a5 here, which, yeah, someone said was the other point of bishop d7 was supporting the b5 pawn. That's true. c3. I don't know. I guess it makes sense because he's trying to maybe plant the knight on d4 and also limit the bishop. So it's hard to say. I went rook g8, the other only semi-open file. Notice he didn't even take this, by the way. I'm sure there are things happening here that I don't really remember. How do we punish this? Is it just b4 and then queen c3 and white resigns? I don't know. I'll turn on the computer. The computer says a4, knight d2, and b4. And ba3, and then bad things are happening to our friend the king. Okay, but c3, rook g8, now he takes, I take on g2, which is dubious. Why is this dubious? Seems like a pretty normal move to me. Queen f1. I did something really bizarre here that I don't understand why I did it. I played rook g3, which doesn't make sense because then he goes queen f2 and then I go rook g7. But isn't his queen better on f2 than it is on f1 because the rooks are connected? Why would I induce that? I don't understand.
You played rook g7 eventually, but playing rook g7 right away. I was expecting rook takes b2 to be good.
Rook takes b2.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this the lecture about attacking b4? That's kind of feels natural. Yeah?
I'm sure that's what I was thinking about. That is definitely a me thing to be thinking about.
I was just kind of expecting.
It's equal.
I don't quite think it works, but
Yeah, I guess that's what the hesitation was. I wanted to take on b2 and I was sad I couldn't. Maybe I thought I was... Oh yeah! Okay, here was my initial idea. I think I wanted to play this move. Yeah, I remember now. Why is rook d3 a blunder? I wanted to, like... the rook from h8 comes to take the pawn on d5. Yeah. Yeah, bishop e2. And then c4.
oh, actually, oh,
Why are you surprised? You were like 2,700.
no.
I said were or was. I don't remember what I said. Okay, but yeah, like b takes c4, bishop takes c4. The rook is out of square.
How bad is it? I don't think it's bad, right? I think you should go queen b7. We have a bishop there.
We do have a bishop pair. I mean, yeah.
Not great.
It's okay. Sure. It would be better not to do this. It's equal apparently.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Wow, black is still doing okay. Yeah, that's interesting. It wants to play queen. He wants to play queen takes c4, and black is better.
Okay, that's too fast.
Too fancy. All right. It makes sense, kind of. Bishops, you know. This is a passed pawn.
Is it equal plus or minus 5 plus?
Minus over plus.
Minus over plus.
So that is all. Those are all of the things I may or may not have seen, and that is why I played the move rook g3. And I guess I saw it. I saw that it was convinced myself it was bad because I didn't play this.
Why did you give rook b3 double question mark?
I don't know because I didn't see queen takes c4. I think that I annotated this game without a computer first. And that's how it goes when you're using just your brain, which is, you know, not a very good tool. Or okay, yours might be, mine is not. Anyway, rook g7. So it's kind of annoying. I think I was probably pretty peeved here because if I had gone rook g7 right away, then his queen is still in the way of his rooks at least, and the queen's a little bit goofy. But I improved his queen, and then I went back anyway. So I know I was probably upset here. Okay, bishop e2. He wants to promote his pawn. And probably. I played the move king e7. Probably for rook h8 reasons. The attacking is not over, necessarily. It seems like it's leaning towards that way, but h5, rook g8, h6, and I don't know. I think that the normal move might be rook h7. What would we do here? Would we play rook h7 or would we play rook g2? Exactly. And I don't want to draw this person. A draw would be a fine result from a number standpoint for me because I was playing this kid. I think he was like 10 and he was higher rated than me, but psychologically I would rather beat the 10-year-old. So yeah, as Ilya says, rook h7 is playing for a draw, so instead we play rook g2, of course. h7, rook g3. And everything's fine. h8 is covered. There's nothing wrong here. I think during the game I was just evaluating this as winning for black.
Practice seems queen d4, but that's
Oh, so queen d4. I actually think I had notes in my. I have notes in here about queen d4. I looked at queen d4.
CD and queen d8.
Yes, I have queen d8.
Yeah.
But I looked at that. So yeah, we were on the same page here. White only has one move here, I think. And it's actually not that complicated once you see it. I never try to use my brain, it never helps. Yeah. Alright, so we'll say white to play here.
This must be it.
What do you think the answer is?
In my mind, the answer is you have a 50% chance of guessing.
That's exactly right. You have a 50% chance of getting it right if you play queen e1 or queen f1. Alright, so everyone get your 50-50 vote in. Maybe we do a poll, queen e1 or queen f1? Queen e1? YouTubers will have a separate stream. Oh, that's Ben. Okay. Bullying kids. So my opponent played queen f1.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. Queen e1 was wrong. I knew it.
So even Yulia thinks that queen e1 looks stupid, or not stupid, but because rook e3.
Like a G push and a bishop takes, rook takes.
Well, so here's yeah. All right, so I don't think that the chat heard that. Queen e1 is good because I think you guys were saying rook e3 here and then here.
Wait, let me do rook e2. Oh, it doesn't help. Still queen f6, queen h4. Okay.
Yes. And then you go here.
No, you take
Or you
first.
take first. And then this is Yeah, in my notes I just wrote I don't know if I looked at that specific. I just wrote after bishop h8 there's bishop f1. But you guys were also right. Probably more right because that seems more active. And then what the rook doing? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he played queen f1. And then all of a sudden everything's fine. Bishop h8. Bishop takes b5.
Every move has some kind of
Every move's a blunder. This is chess at the 2000 level.
Why is bishop h8 bad?
I don't know why. That's why I just kind of glossed over bishop h8 being inaccurate because I don't know why that move is bad. I guess I can turn on the computer.
Yeah.
Bishop h8 is equal. Queen b6 is plus 0.3. I'm the worst.
Minus 0.3.
Yeah, minus 0.3.
Bishop
Now-
h8 is equal.
This is 0. This is 0.2
I
now.
don't think it's an accuracy.
I don't either. That's why I just ignored the computer there. But queen b6 to defend this pawn, that's a blunder for taking. So I don't like defend the pawn, but also if I don't defend the pawn and he takes, it's a blunder. I don't know. All right, bishop takes b5. Now I go queen b6. Seems good to me. I'm threatening rook f2 and getting the blind pigs on the second. Apparently that's not as common of a term as I thought. I had a student tell me that an entire chess club gaslit an old man over that because they're like, no one has ever heard that term before. You made that up. No one has ever heard blind pigs. And the guy was like, oh, I guess I imagined that. Anyway. a4, rook f2. Yeah, blind pigs on the 7th? You haven't heard that? Well, what does a blind pig eat? Whatever's in front of it. Yeah. But I think the pigs comes from blind pigs, actually. It's just gotten shortened over time. I've heard pigs, but not blind pigs.
That makes sense, because pigs by themselves makes no sense.
Yes, yes. Okay, all right, now that we've explained some chess lore, rook f2, queen c4, rook g2.
Oh, the rooks are playing.
Yes.
Oh my god.
They eat whatever in front of them.
That's just
Okay.
slow.
Okay. 2700 by the way, almost.
Keep reminding me. Make me feel bad.
I'm sorry. All right. Knight d4. Black to play and win. I mean, obviously rook takes g2 or b2, but then what? You've heard a blind squirrel finding a nut? But that doesn't make sense. Because I don't think he'd be very good at that. But rooks on the 7th are very good at eating things. Bishop takes b5. Why? Rook takes b2, bishop takes b5. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. This is automatic.
What's your point?
All right, you be quiet. I don't know if the chat heard that. Okay, someone in the chat says it. Queen c5, threatening checkmate in 2. But if you take the queen, it's also checkmate in 2, rook a2 and rook b2. Blind pig checkmate, down a queen. Well, the moral of this story is when you're debating between two moves, play the move that gives you more legal moves to make. I don't know. Yes, before the half hour, GM Nijnik heckles from the front of the lectern. Yeah. Yep. All right, I have 2 games that are much higher quality and much more interesting, but I only have 10 minutes left, and I think I've shown them to the live audience before, but not on Twitch. So I don't really know what to do about that. Should I show the Najdorf game or the Catalan game? Catalan?
Because the Catalan game, you can just suddenly run out of time and just cut it off before things turn around and say that, yeah, I won this game.
That is such a good idea. All right, I apologize if I've shown this game before. I don't think I have, but also I might have. So, all right, this was against good buddy Matthew Wofford. These are all semi-normal moves. Apparently, it's theory up until a point, but I don't think I was in theory. I was just playing moves that made sense. B3 is just a move I had encountered the idea of before in my head. So Black has made a lot of pawn moves, and he's moved the only developed piece twice. White is already castled and has 2 pieces developed. The biggest problem in the Catalan for Black is usually the light scored bishop for White, but also finding a good place for the dark scored or for the light scored bishop for Black. B3 in the point is, okay, if I take, I'm fracturing your pawn structure, I have 2 central pawns, the position is good. If, yeah, I made arrows. If c3, then e4, and I win back the pawn anyway, same thing, 2 central pawns. So he kind of has to take on b3, and after queen takes b3, I made an arrow. Black needs to play bishop e7 and castle, but he doesn't. He plays bishop b7. I made an arrow to e4. I guess it makes sense. 2 central pawns, knight f6. So he's moved this piece 3 times, and this piece once, and then like 6 pawn moves or something. Okay, here is the time to find the move. I think I spent probably 30 minutes here, and I calculated everything, and it didn't even matter. I mean, I guess it mattered because it helped me find the move. But where are the weaknesses, I guess, in the position? What is my opponent's idea? I don't know if I have a worse place piece exactly, because the pieces that are undeveloped have lots of potential. But my goal was to stop black from castling and from developing. I want the in-person audience to try, because the chat is the chat.
You ever when you played this game?
I played this game at the MLK, the 2022 question mark. Oh wait, no, that's not true. That's not true. It was at the DCC Fall Classic, was it? No, it was at the MLK. Sorry, it was at the MLK 2022, I think. Bishop A3? Bishop A3 is an interesting move. Your idea is to take control over that diagonal so black can't castle. That's a good idea. And I did use this at some point. I played the move Bishop H3 with the idea of knight takes F7 or bishop takes E6. Yeah. This was my novelty that I came up with. And I had to calculate a lot. I put in a lot of lines here. My opponent ended up just playing bishop c8 and defending the e6 pawn, which is a great result out of this. My opponent is setting up for the next game. Almost all the pieces are on the back rank, and I have only positives to my position. Maybe a cool line. So if he plays like bishop e7 or something and tries to ignore me and just castle, the line that I calculated, or at least the line I entered in here, was knight takes f7, king takes f7, queen takes e6, king e8, and e5. Oh, this is not the right line. This was the line. The line I didn't like that, and I'd said bishop e6 is better because after king e8, bishop f7, king d6, queen e3, king f7, bishop f4, king b6, knight c3. And I stopped calculating here because it just intuitively, I feel like I have plenty for the piece. The king is, if this was bug house, I would say like pawn mates or something. And I think I would be correct. I could play a5 and then put a pawn here. And this is only +2, but also I'm down a piece, so that means I'm doing very well. So I don't know if my opponent calculated any of that or not. He was just like, I'm not dealing with that. So we take on b5 and we play d5. I don't know why this move is bad. It says knight a3 is better. Bishop e7. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It's a free pawn. But I kind of wanted to open the e file and put rooks on it. And also just keep opening lines towards the king. So d5 takes, bishop takes c8, queen takes c8, e takes d, and now the e file is open. He's still several moves away from castling. I have 2 minutes. Okay. Bishop d6. Now we see bishop a3. If he takes, I play queen takes, and he has no way to castle anytime soon. There's not really a nice way to block this diagonal. And meanwhile, rook e1 is coming. I can slowly bring in the knight, and this pass pawn is super dangerous. So we can't do that. He played the move queen d8, and then white's to play and find the coolest move I've ever played before. And then we'll stop after that because nothing eventful happened after that. In my head, I was thinking if black castles, then all of this was a waste of my time. And what was the point? Knight c6. So I wanted to do several things with this position. I wanted to open the e-file as soon as possible so that I could play rook e1 and stop castling for good. I wanted to remove this blockade on d6, and I wanted to open the b file so my queen can invade on the 7th and on the light squares. And I wanted to do it all in a forcing manner so black has no time to just castle. If I do something too slow, black castles and he's fine. In an endgame scenario, I'm not even really better a lot of the time because he has these connected passed pawns. So it is sort of an urgent situation. Yes, so the chat got it. Knight c4. Hanging a piece. But if he takes on c4, then I can play queen b7. And after ba3 takes... Is this the line I looked at? I got so many lines in here. Queen b7. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong line. Okay, rook e1 check, then after king f8, then queen... Oh yeah, bishop takes d6, then queen b7. And then I'm threatening this stuff and the rook. And then the rook probably just falls. So that works out. If not take, this is still attacked. He has to take on a3, like in the game. Queen takes a3. Now he can't castle. Rook e1 is coming. My opponent played queen e7, and then there was like... I spent the rest of my time until I had 2 minutes left here trying to figure out what the correct move was, and there really was only one idea. 2 different move orders, but one idea that I did not find. And so I eventually just lost in time pressure, which was a fun way to end this game. I mean, we're out of time, but...
See? Perfection. Told you. Told you.
Yeah, long story short, I played perfect and then the game ended because of reasons. Yeah. Well, that's the true story.
It's not that bad. Like, you not want to tell it.
It is true. I got into time pressure and I lost. Okay, yeah, the answer is one of these things, and I picked the wrong one. Two are correct, one is not. I played knight d6 and I lost. I lost because I went into an equal position with no time. That's why I lost.
What did you play after knight d6?
Yeah, king d7, and then this is like slightly better for white, but I'm playing on increment, and I eventually hung something to the horsies. I'll show the idea, I suppose. So that knight b6 and d6 are the same idea, and it's kind of deep. Okay, so if knight b6, rook a7, d6, queen e6, knight c8 is the point. Yeah. How was I supposed to find that? That's true.
Because knight b6, you have to calculate the deficit what takes b3 first. And that's knight a6.
Yeah, that's sort of what happened to me. I just was getting really tired trying to figure out differences, and I was like, d6 or knight b6, and eventually I just played a move, the different move. So, and if anyone's wondering why this is so winning, rook e1, and then where does the king go?
Queen e3, wow, that's really
Queen e3 also is good enough.
well, I guess we have to see how much of they probably for a while. Queen e6, knight f7, castle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
So rook e1, king d8, queen a5. This is nothing can be done here. You know? Apparently it's only +1. I don't really understand that. Look at the king. It is, yeah, okay, I agree, it's winning. Okay, well, I've overstayed my welcome. Stay tuned for Ilya Nizhnik explaining the pros and cons of attacking in a way that, you know, I wouldn't be able to explain.